Try to refrain from saying anything bad about Celinda or any other foreign country, or anything of the 8 Superior Court judges. So try to have a decent act here with no further catastrophes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me okay back there without the microphone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm gonna. You want the mic? Want the mic? Okay. It's gonna allow me to only gesture with one hand, but that's all right. We'll make it happen. Good evening, folks. My name is Rick Tubbs, and I'm running to be your congressman. And thank you so much, Patsy, and everybody else that has put this wonderful event on tonight. I really like these events because they give us a really good chance to talk to you, let you get to know us, we get to know you. This is great to have this opportunity. I am running to be your representative. And if I'm going to do that effectively, I need to know who you are and you need to know who I am so we can have a communication and dialogue as I go up there and represent you well. So this kind of activity really makes it possible. So thank you. Tonight I want to talk just a little bit about myself, let you know who I am, where I'm from, what I'm about, why I'm running, and why I can win. And then we'll open it up to questions, and that is my favorite part because that's where I really get to know you. That chit-chat we had out there, I got a lot of questions and it was great. So if you'd like to ask the questions again or that I've already had a chance to practice, that'd be good. But if you have anything else, please let me know. I have my wife with me tonight, Christy.
Sorry.
She's hiding. She's taping me, and then she watches that on TV and says, you see that right there? You should do that better. And don't say the word got. That'll happen tonight at least once. Christy and I have been married 22 years. We're college sweethearts. She's been with me my entire Air Force career, and it has been a wonderful ride. During that time, we have had 3 children, Holly, 17, Luke, 16, just recently, Audrey, right there taking a picture of me again. And then Holly's friend Lindsay is here as well. And my campaign manager, Mark Gelati, is right up here up front. So if you have questions and I'm busy talking, please talk to them. One thing about my wife I want to bring up tonight that hopefully you can appreciate. 22 years in the military, like I said, she is a speaker for the Yellow Ribbon program, which the Air Force, or the military, I should say, Department of Defense, has figured out that this type of war that we're having over the last 10 years is difficult on families. Took them a little while, but they finally figured it out. And one of the things that they are doing to counteract that is they're offering these Yellow Ribbon weekends, I call them life seminar weekends, to our members and their spouses so they can come and learn about all the services and different skills they need to cope with these long deployments our folks are having to go through. So, oh, go ahead. Oh, no problem.
Can I sit here?
Sure.
Sorry.
No worries. I'm going to win her vote. Anyway, so they have these weekends, and my wife is a speaker at these weekends, and she brings the financial counseling part and the marriage counseling part and communication part and does a lot of really good things with our folks. And I make the joke, but it's true. She teaches these folks the mistakes I've made over the last 22 years so they don't make the same ones. But it has done a lot of good things for our families in the military, and my wife's a part of it. She's leaving tomorrow to go to one in Orlando. So anyways, that's really fascinating stuff if you have a chance to talk to her about that. I grew up in a one-stop sign town. This is my spiel I'm starting. In Wisconsin. And in a farming community, much like where we're at right now. I feel very at home here in this small town. I love it. There I dreamed about being an astronaut. And that took me to the Air Force. I went to Fresno State, down south a little bit, got a math degree. I see that got word. I told you she's going to pick on me for that. But I earned my math degree down at Fresno, married my wife right away after that. Went to Wichita Falls, Texas for 5 years to fly trainers for the Air Force, and then came back to Travis Air Force Base in 1995, where I flew C-5s for 10 years, and then C-17s the last 6. And I'm the commander of our C-17 unit right now. And Holly, who was born in Texas, and the other 2 kiddos were born here in California at David Grant Medical Center at Travis. That's a quick history of what I did. What has helped me to become a congressman that can go to Washington and help solve some of the problems our country is facing. I've spent a lot of times not only fighting a war and flying airplanes, but I've worked on budgets, federal budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets, seeing how in a very controlled environment, the military, where we're very disciplined and very good at what we do, probably the best department in terms of operationally. I won't talk about R&D or contracts, but operationally we do a very good job of tracking our money and spending only what we have, and it can get out of control fast. And so I have spent many years making sure that that didn't happen at different levels, at a command headquarters out in the Pacific, and then now as commander I'm doing it every day that I go into work. I'm working with that. So I've learned how federal budgets work. I've learned how to control them and how to keep them balanced. My wife and I were small business owners for a time just before the war, and we learned what it's like to deal with the regulations and the taxes and all that goes with dealing with the government and how they stand in your way to grow your business, to grow jobs, and the difficulties there is. And when you're doing a small business budget, the same rules apply as the federal government budget that I deal with in the military. You take so much in, you can only spend so much. And then we have what we call the family budget that we deal with daily on the kitchen table, just like you do. And the same rules apply to your family budget that apply in a small business that apply to a federal budget, how you take in and spend the same. And that's what I take to Washington with me as I leave from here and go to there. Is this is how you balance a budget. This is how I've done it for the last 2 decades in all different levels, and that's how we're going to do it in Washington. But don't let me get ahead of myself. That's my most passionate issue, and I'll always come back to it. Just about every issue out there somehow relates back to the budget. Not all of them, but most. But I want to talk about that. And that is my number one issue as I go from here. If you are going to vote for me, which I am asking you tonight to do, you are voting for someone who is going to go and balance the budget for our federal government. That's the number one reason I want you to vote for me. Now, we can do it, and it's 2 factors. We have to grow revenues and cut spending. The way we grow revenues is not by growing taxes, like John Garamendi, who will be your congressman if we don't win on the conservative side. He's the incumbent that's running in this new district. He wants to raise your taxes. I don't want to raise your taxes because it doesn't matter how much we raise in taxes. If we don't control our spending and have a fiscal, responsible government, they will never be enough on the tax side. But what we do need to do in this country with an economy that's hurting is grow jobs. We need to get more taxpayers and less tax takers. And the way we grow jobs is by getting off the backs of the job creators, the businesses. Too much taxation, too much regulation, too much litigation. The 3-legged monster that kills American jobs and sends them overseas. We need to have business minds in our government that recognize the cost of what government does on businesses, which directly relates to jobs, which directly relates to the economy, which then finally comes back around and relates to revenue coming back into the government to balance our budget. And I'll be happy to talk about a lot of different ways of doing that, because I think we were sold on a bill of hope and change in 2008, where Americans filled in the blank, and I made sure that when I ran last time, and this time, that I would fill in that blank for you so you knew what you were voting for. And I'll give you one example of regulations. The American Disabilities Act, a great act to help our disabled citizens be more a part of normal life. I support that regulation and its intent. What I don't support is that if you, as a disabled American, go into a restaurant and find a mirror is 2 inches too high, according to the American Disabilities Act, you can then go and sue that owner. And if your lawyer is the way some of these lawyers are, they'll just try to get a settlement and be on your way. Then there's all kinds of other issues. But it's not a personal injury if a restaurant is not following the American Disabilities Act. Oh, you can bring it up to the government, and you should, and the government will go to the business and let them know they need to fix it. And if they don't in a certain amount of time, they will get a fine. And that fine will go to the federal government until you finally fix your violation. But personal injury, no. That is too costly when it comes to your business, and it's certainly not something that should happen out there in response to a regulation. That's an example of what I'm talking about, of cutting regulation and making protecting our society, whether it's a workplace or environment more business friendly, and still getting the job done the right way. Okay, please ask more questions later. I got plenty of ideas on that. But I only have 20 minutes, and it's tough to save the world in 20 minutes, so I'm going to move on. Next issue that's very important to me that needs to be done within the first 3 months of the new Congress being elected, and hopefully a new president being elected, and that is we need to repeal Obamacare. Obamacare is a monstrosity of government that we have not seen. I mean, it's bigger than Medicare, it's bigger than Social Security, it's bigger than defense, it's bigger than any government program you can possibly think of. And it is going to touch everyone's life. It is not constitutional. It is not. And you have 26 states that have taken this bill to the Supreme Court and said it's not constitutional. You have well over 1,500 different entities, whether they're unions or businesses, that have already requested and received waivers out of this bill. The states realize it is going to bankrupt them. Insurance companies realize it's not going to be good. For the last 2 years, your insurance rates have gone up in direct response to Obamacare. It is going to crush this nation. It needs to be removed, just repealed outright. And I'm committed to doing that. My vote will repeal Obamacare, no questions asked. Third issue, is the water issue in California. It is a federal state issue, and it's because it is so complex, you have a federal piece. I know some people thought that when they turned the valves off to the Central Valley a few years ago that we wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to rally the National Guard to put him back on. I kind of liked the idea, but you knew Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't going to do that. But there is a federal piece and a state piece, and we need to work together. And the key to the water issue in California is stop debating, stop studying, stop trying to delay the decisions we need to make today to fix the problem tomorrow. Stop delaying them. 30 years ago, we shut down the Auburn Dam. And we've been sitting on our hands since, and the problem just keeps getting worse. We need to supply water for drinking, and that's a Southern California issue. We need to. We need to supply water for the environment. And when I say environment, I'm talking about the Delta. That is the #1 environmental issue in our area. We need to save that. But equally so, we need to supply water to our agricultural industry in this state. That is vital to the success and prosperity of California and the world. When California stops producing, prices go up around the world. People literally starve to death in other places of the world. It is an issue that needs to be solved. We need leaders that are willing to take a stand and say, we're going to do this. Take the hits that I say. Take the people that are going to say, well, you can't because of this. You can't because of that. I'm tired of hearing we can't. This is America. We can, and we need to. However, we need to elect leaders that are going to say, I will lead the way, I will make a decision, and I will stand on it. I'm going to listen to good advice, but eventually, within, the first 2 years that you're going to elect me, I'm going to be up there saying, this is a good solution, let's go forward. I'm doing a lot of studying on it already. I see extra storage as #1. More dams, more places to store the water in good years. 2, water recycling. When you have how much water? Quite a bit. 80%-ish, depending upon what study you look at, is used for non-drinkable things like watering your lawn or industrial purposes. You can use recycled water for that. That's a lot cheaper to do. It takes a little bit of infrastructure, but it's how we increase our supply to make sure we have enough for those 3 different areas. And then third, when you look at big cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, we need to think about and do desalination for their drinking water. And this is how we make sure we have enough supply as well as keep the water for all the different areas that we have. It's simple, but we just have to make a decision and go forward. And I'm the guy that can do that. I've been doing it in the Air Force, whether it's God-given ability or training or a little of both. I've been a leader in the United States Air Force in combat, in peace, low places, high places, little amounts of people, big amounts of people. I've had the opportunities, and I have led, and we have gotten big things done. I'm ready to lead in Washington for you. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. See my one-handed gestures. Anyways, if I could have my living easels. Oh, I do want to point 2 things out before I go to that. just one more point I missed. This is another one of those things my wife will critique me on that film. You forgot your debt chart. No, I didn't. Here, hold that up. Hold that up. A quick debt chart. This is old. I'm a fiscal conservative, so I'm using, recycled stuff. We'll buy a new one later. When I put this chart together, the debt was $13.4 trillion. Now it's almost $15.4, $2 trillion. $2 trillion. We're borrowing over $2 million every minute of every day. I'll sit on the phone and watch my website where I have a debt clock, and I'll just watch as I talk for 10 minutes, $25 million we borrowed against our children's future. That's what we got to stop. And this is what scared me. This is why I'm running. This is why I ran last time. In the 2000s under George Bush, we had some pretty big deficits. I didn't like them. I thought my Republicans, when we had the House, Senate, and presidency, were spending like Democrats. I didn't like it, but I was a little busy fighting a war, so there wasn't much I could do about it back then. Right here is the government's plan. These are CBO numbers, Congressional Budget Office numbers. The plan for the future for our deficits. And here is TARP and stimulus and all those big spending bills we did. And as we get to the election, President Obama is going to say, look at how well we've done cutting the deficit. Except his plan for our country is for those deficits to grow forever. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out this can't happen and this country survive. The American dream that we have all enjoyed about going out and having an economy that provides opportunities for us to experience and live our dreams will not be there for our children because of this. This can't happen. And right now the people in office are satisfied with this. And we got to get rid of them. And we got to elect people that are going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, that one out. That's scary. Turn it around. I don't want to see it. Let me show you the curve here. Now, Tea Party, right? I meant the Tea Party. Fiscal responsibility, constitutional government, free markets. Those are principles of America. Why anybody would think the Tea Party is something different, I don't know. They're not paying attention to history. But I want you to think about my governing philosophy. As you think about those principles of the Tea Party, I try to put it a little simpler. I ran in a very difficult Democratic district last time, so I try to make it as simple as possible. Now, that's supposed to be funny, but anyways. In America, we have the Constitution, which I think did a great job of providing us freedom and opportunity. On this graph, if you will, I'm a math guy, remember, so if I lose you, stop me and I'll start over again. This side is freedom, which is what makes America great. Freedom is what made this country the best country history has ever seen. Freedom will keep this country great far into the future. This side is freedom. The bottom side, as you go this way, is the size of government. Now, as you start out with no government, no freedom, it's just the land of the strong. And you need some government to protect your rights, some government to protect the privileges that we have, your freedom, excuse me. You need some government to protect your freedom, to order society. And you want the least amount of government for the most amount of freedom. That's what our Constitution did. Among all of the different governments of the world, the United States Constitution provided the least government, most freedom right up here, which made this great country strong. Unfortunately, as you grow government, which you look all around the world at good examples, but our own, as you grow government, freedom starts to fade. And in my humble opinion, we are on the wrong side of this curve going in the wrong direction. And the greatness that is up here keeps getting farther away. So when you think about my governing philosophy in respect to the Tea Party, Jan, where are you? There you are, back there. About Agenda 21 and some of the big grabs of government. Anything that is going to cause our government, our country to go further down this path, I will vote against. There is no way I will support. Every piece of legislation I either vote for or write myself will push us up this curve. And when you talk about some of the land grabs of Agenda 21, that's going the wrong way. So that makes it, hopefully this makes it simple, and then now you go arm wrestle and make sausage and all that other stuff. But the bottom line is, which way are we going on this curve? And for me, we have to go this way and stay up here. Okay, very good. Next, living easel. Okay, sorry, a little distraction there. Good stuff, I hope. Here's my son. He passed me. Turn around. All right. He passed me at 13. Okay, hold that up for me. This is our new district. This is why I can win. There are some really good people in this room. Charlie Schaub, Tim Core, good people. Listen to them. They're great. I love them. They got good ideas and good conservative values. So you can't go wrong. However, what makes me different, other than I'm Air Force and they're the Marines? What makes me different? Why can I beat Garamendi? Why am I the best choice? You look at our district, and Glen County up here where we're at, this dark red right here is conservative. Votes for Republicans. Whoever our Republican candidate is can count on those votes. Got to come up here. I'm here tonight. I want to get to know you. Not going to take those areas for granted, but we know that this is solid conservative support. Now, in 2010, this district voted for Carly Fiorina, 46%, Barbara Boxer, 45%. Yay, we won. Voted for our Republican Attorney General, Cooley, 47%, Karen Harris, 41%. We won. The district votes conservative. Congressional candidates, all congressional candidates put together, 47%. Oh, are you kidding me? That's 20 minutes? 1 minute, please. I'll give you $1. Anyways, where the Democrats are strong, I am strong. In Vacaville, where I ran last time, Miller won in 2008, 54 to 40% by 5,000 votes. I beat George Miller, one of the longest-serving congressmen out there. I beat him 57 to 43 in my hometown. 4,000 votes. This district lost to the Democratic congressional candidates by 3,000 votes in 2010. I turned 9,000 votes in one town alone. That's the kind of appeal conservative values, common sense solutions, explained properly or well to the Democrats win those votes. We do that in the rest of Solano County alone. We win quite handily against John Garamendi. Then you take a look at Lake and Yolo and we get more votes out there. My time is up. I've got plenty more to say. Please ask questions. I'll be happy to answer whatever you have. And I think I got 10 minutes. Thank you very much. That's all. Yes, thank you. Okay, my living easel. And we'll, come up and look at that some more later where we fit in the district. Be happy to. What do you got for me? Questions? Yes, sir. Keith.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Federal Reserve?
Federal Reserve, that's a good question out there. Now, Ron Paul has proposed a bill, I think, since the first year he was in Congress to audit the Fed. I'll sign on to that bill right away when I get there. Absolutely sign on to that bill. You got to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
That's right.
The Federal Reserve is seen as something that has been more problematic than helpful. If we can audit it, take a look at it, whatever problems are there, we're going to find them. When they're held accountable to the light of public scrutiny, they will become more of the solution than the problem. Now, if we want to get rid of the Fed, which some suggest, I want to audit it first. I want to try to not fix it. I want to see what happens after we audit it, and then take another look. If they are contributing to these bubbles and making them worse and worse and then profiting off of it, and I'll tell you, 2008, when all of us were suffering the worst, Fed had record $68 billion profit, something like that. When we were all doing the worst, they were doing the best. There's something wrong there. So let's audit the Fed. Let's get the books out. Let's really know what we're talking about, and then let's make some good decisions on what the facts are as we go forward. What else, Ken? Yes?
How are you planning on dealing with lobbyists?
Lobbyists. I relate lobbyists to gun control. Not maybe the way you'd think. The gun doesn't shoot people, right? People shoot people. The lobbyist is not the problem. It is the lawmaker that's the problem. I don't care if it's my 13-year-old daughter coming into my office saying, Daddy, I want a park in my neighborhood, or if it's an Exxon highly paid lobbyist coming into my office and saying we need a pipeline from Canada to Texas. They're both lobbyists. What happens is which representative is swayed by the money that they bring in. If I'm going to vote for a pipeline, I don't need money to convince me of it. Now, if you like my vote for a pipeline and you want to make sure I stay in, fine. But the representative that allows money from lobbyists to sway their vote against what they think is right, they're the problem. They're corrupt. That is where I see things that need to be changed. I'll tell you what, I am running this campaign as an anti-establishment campaign candidate. I think John Boehner and the Republicans really made some mistakes over the summer when they had the leverage to make some really good decisions. I will be happy to take a microphone and stand on the steps or wherever I can and say, John Boehner, you were wrong this summer just trying to cut spending and not focusing on creating jobs and balancing the budget. We need to focus on the high road and not just the details. Lobbyists fall into that category. They're part of the establishment. And if you're part of that good old boys club and you work all that, I don't want to do that. I'm running for my kids. I'm running so their futures are bright. And I am not going to let any lobbyist turn my attitude or make me think differently if it's going to jeopardize their future. There's no amount of money that's going to change my attitude on that. So lobbyists, like you said, if it's my daughter lobbying for a park or an Exxon guy lobbying for a pipeline or a Sierra Club member lobbying to save a group of trees, let's look at the issue. Give me the facts. I can't be smart on everything, but don't let the money sway you. And I'll give you another pledge. If at some point lightning strikes my head or I fall, something to where I lose that, I want you to vote for somebody else because I've become somebody I don't want to be. So there you go. If that helps. Yes, ma'am.
Often when looking at budgets, the thinking seems to be, in the coming year, if you don't get as much funds as you got the year before, you got cut. Well, you didn't really get cut. So what's your approach to budget matters as far as dealing with the federal budget and downscaling it, not in an area of providing for the common defense, but in all of the other aspects? Real budget cuts or taking them back a certain amount of years, definitely not what they consider a budget cut.
That's an excellent question. It's something I deal with in the military every day. I think we can save 5% in the military off right now if we go to 2-year budgets where your year that you're going into is not based upon your last year's budget, but is based upon what you need. Zero-based balanced budgeting, I call it, but zero-based budgeting. You define your need and you request what you need for the next year. Last year might be guidance, but it's not the exact measure. I'm a commander, remember? I know I'll remind you that because, it's leadership, all that good stuff. But what it does for me is I was in a meeting with my boss, who's a commander, in September, who said out loud, make sure you spend all your money. Do not leave anything on the table. That is our culture. That is our attitude. And remember, I said the military is the best of all your departments. They all work that way. So I, as a commander, went out and spent your tax dollars on something smart that we needed, but I didn't need to spend that money. But I was ordered to. That's where we're wasting a lot of money there. We fly hours at the end of the year at $10,000, $15,000 an hour in gas and maintenance to make sure we zero out our budget, even though I don't need it. I did save 10 hours at the end of this year, felt really good, saved you $150,000, but somebody else spent it. What you're talking about is a problem and an inefficiency in government that we need to change. And we can do it in the military tomorrow. It's in the Constitution, no more than 2 years for a military government. It's right there. It's easy to fix in the military. We take those lessons learned and we apply them to all the other departments as well. And we get away from spend it or lose it mentality. We are wasting too much of your money, your hard-earned dollars. You go to work, you pay taxes, and the government wastes that taxes on spend it or lose it. We have to stop that. And part of my balanced budget that I will forward, because you've heard of the Paul Ryan budget, you'll hear of a Rick Tubbs budget that is balanced. And zero-based budgeting will be a part of that to get rid of exactly what you're talking about. I've experienced it. I've done it. Oh, scary story. Just for fun. I love telling stories.
How do you feel after you've done it?
I feel, well, hear this story. Spend your money. This is a few years ago when I was an executive officer, not a commander. So they decide, well, let's buy some big screen TVs for the squadrons. That might be okay. Well, we really don't need them, but we have 5 squadrons, let's get 5. Well, to make sure we get 5, let's order 10. And we had extra money, so guess how many screens we got? 10. 5 of them sat in a closet, and the one in my squadron sits blank on the wall. I feel like crap after we do that, because I stare at your tax dollars sitting on the wall, and that's one of the reasons, one of the biggest reasons why I'm motivated to run to be your congressman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What would be your ideas for fixing this Social Security problem?
Yeah, Social Security, there's a lot of things we can do. One, efficiency. We're paying dead people, we're paying prisoners, disability, fraud, all kinds of stuff. But that's not the biggest part of it. I do believe we need to raise the retirement age to 67 to 70 for people probably around my age, 44, I'm 44, and let the people who have it now keep getting what they want. I do like Newt Gingrich's plan, which has already been tested down in Chile. Just had my friend the missionary from Chile over this weekend, where you do have the option of putting your money into your own account, which everywhere it's been used has had a greater return than you'll ever get putting it into the current Social Security system. But that's for people more my daughter's age and a little older. It's a big fix for the future, and it's something we have to fund now and just bite the bullet and fund for the next half a generation to make sure we make good to our seniors now, like my 98-year-old grandma. But we have to put some big solutions in place to make sure we can afford it in the out years. And raising the retirement age, getting rid of the fraud and inefficiency, and then going to a personal account style is the way we do it for the future. You got more time? Is it really? I don't want to take. I like these guys too much to take away their time. Okay, good.
Do you see any way to salvage the Klamath dams that's been scheduled to be removed?
Yeah, and that's part of that water issue. And part of the thing, one of the things I will be working on. When I get into my office, you know, I'm going to put some things on the board, whiteboards. I love whiteboards. Ask my kids. We homeschool. You know, balancing the budget, Obamacare, and the water issue. We have to save those things, and we got to start quick. And it's people that are willing to say, no, that's the wrong idea. Stop. Put a moratorium on all these dam bustings that we're doing. Pick a solution that we can fight for and move forward and do it. People don't do it because they're afraid of all the people telling them wrong. No matter what you pick on the water issue, there's pros and cons. Every solution. It fascinates me. But you got to go forward, because waiting, delaying is killing us. And saving the dams is something we can do if we have people that are willing to say they will. Thank you very much. Loved it. You guys are great. Been playing all week.
It's rigged.